All right, good morning and welcome to the Krueger Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. That's right, and we will be in Corte Madera tomorrow. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Niners at the bye week. Diana Rossini's got the latest on the trade deadline. Kev's in the house Saturday morning. Let's go. All right, good morning to everybody. Welcome to the Krueger Show on a Saturday morning as we get things rolling. 8:45 West Coast, 11:45 East Coast. Great day of college football. Ohio State, Penn State going off in Happy Valley in about 15 minutes. Go Buckeyes. Welcome to the Krueger Show. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And, of course, we will be there tomorrow from noon until 6 p.m. for the Krueger Show meet and greet. Don't miss it. The second annual Krueger Show meet and greet. That was last year's right there. We're hoping for good weather, but it doesn't really matter either way. We will be there tomorrow, Sunday, November the 3rd, 341 Corte Madera Town Center in Corte Madera from noon to 6, having some barbecue, watching some football, hanging out with our sponsor, the great Damon Stainbrook and his wife, Mary, and we appreciate them, and we're just trying to give a little back. So if you're a fan of the Krueger Show, please meet us at Pig and a Pickle. It's kind of an open house kind of a thing. It's not the hugest restaurant, but stop by, maybe order some barbecue, have a beer, let's talk some ball, and
it's going to be intimate, as they say.
What do you mean? You're saying nobody's going to show up?
It's not like a giant. I don't know what a comparison would be. It's not like a Fuddruckers. Is a Fuddruckers? Is that like a national thing? Is that just a local thing? I don't know.
It might be
like a massive restaurant. It'll be an intimate setting, and we get to meet, and we'll meet everyone. We'll talk to everyone. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, should be good. Should be good. And it was last time we had about 30 or 40 people show up, and hopefully this time we'll have more. So anyway, if you're there, if you're in Marin, Paulie Mac's going to be in the house. Kev will be there. I'll be there. I'll bring some of my younger sons with me as well. We'll watch some football. We'll have a couple beers. At least me and Kev will. Our younger kids will not. And then we'll watch a little football and talk to you. So check that out. Also, don't forget we're giving away a jersey. The proud sponsor of the Krueger Show is Better. This live stream is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krueger Show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. We do it every week. We won last week. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everybody who is entered automatically is entered into a drawing to win this little doozy, and that's a Fred Warner red Niner Fred Warner 54 jersey autographed by Fred. You can see it autographed there on the 4. So, yes, it is a signed Fred Warner jersey, and so download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners. Get that first deposit matched up to $200. Also, I want to mention to everybody that this show is going to be fast today because about an hour from now we'll be out of here because I'm going to be on the radio from 10 to 11 on KMBR, 104.5 and 680 on the AM dial, 104.5 on the FM dial. For 49er forecast. So we'll do an entire dedicated hour on the radio from 10 to 11. And our guest in that show is going to be the great Ira Kaufman, who is one of the Hall of Fame voters. And he's also an expert on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we're going to look ahead to next week, right? Niners Bucks coming out of the bye. So we'll take the first look ahead at the Bucks with the guy who knows the Bucks like the back of his hand. So I'm really looking forward to that. Coming up in the 10 o'clock hour on the radio. All right, but here we go. Let's get it rolling right here. Steven's already hanging out. This is our call-in show. We're going to do a call-in show. Wednesday nights was the call-in show, but then we invited Paulie Mac. Now we've been doing Wednesday nights with Paulie Mac. So, the coach and I were streaming on Saturdays, but Kevin and I used to do some call-in shows on Saturdays. So we're going to actually, we're going to start doing the call-in show, I think, on the regular, maybe in this time slot. So we'll see. We're not sure if we'll get a lot of calls.
Saturday will be a rotating schedule of guests, but we'll
This is
rotate in
one
a
of them.
call and every. Yeah, this is one of them.
This is one in the rotation. Like Frank Red is one of my good friends. I'm going to have Frank on some of the Saturdays. We'll do some basketball, some baseball, some we'll mix it up on Saturdays for sure. On the Krueger show, because the coach was so good. I mean, we can't replace the coach with just one person. Let's be completely honest. It's going to take a village to replace the coach, and the coach is not replaceable. So Kev will try. I will try. We will get some good guests on here. I can't promise any of them will be as good as the coach. But anyway, this is if I can't have the coach, I'd like to have Kev and calls. So I can't have the coach. So I've got Kevin calls today. So
your son is second to the coach.
Okay. The coach is not a system content creator. He's an original. No, I'm just joking.
I am a system son. I'm a system.
That's right. You're the system son. I just plug you in. I mean, you're like an equation. I've got other sons. I've got other kids. My daughter easily could do this. No, I'm just joking. Kev, you're fantastic, and congratulations to both Kev and I, because our hard work has resulted in this channel eclipsing 50,000 subs last week, and I'm just so proud of what we've been able to accomplish in a very, very short amount of time. So, and we have new sponsors, all kinds of new relationships on the horizon. The channel has never been in better shape than it is right now. So anyway, thanks to Kev for a lot of that. All right, let's get into it right now, Kev. What are we talking about before we hit the calls?
Yeah, we were going to hit the calls sooner than normal. So we
got Steven Beer hanging out in the green room, and he's back to just crushing it. He's drinking all of our booze. I see billowing smoke coming out from underneath the door. All the snacks are gone. The entire catered lunch that we provided in the green room for all of our callers is picked over. All I would say, if you're planning on getting to our green room to party, you better get in there fast, because Steven Beer is just taking that room apart piece by piece. Now, we're just joking, but he'll be our first caller. But go ahead, Kev. What do we start with?
Also, the link is in the chat. So if you want to join in, the link's in the chat. It's pinned in the chat. So I titled the stream Latest 49ers News, and I titled that last night, not knowing what would come this morning. But there's always something that comes out in the morning. So we might as well hit it since we're here.
Is this it? Daniel Garcia in the chat says the Lions are trying to land Zadarius Smith. I saw that on my Bleacher Report app right before the show. He says, was hoping the Niners would try to get him so Detroit would not. Yeah, Detroit lost Aiden Hutchinson. They're going to get a defensive end.
So Diana Rossini wrote an article this morning, and she had a bunch of notes. I'll start with the Niners notes, and then I'll fire off some other notes, and then you can just tell me what you think. So
this is Diana Rossini's latest, and this is on what, The Athletic, right?
The Athletic, yes. She said that New England's defensive tackle Davon Godchaux is available, and the Niners know it. So she's basically making the claim that the Niners know that he's available, and I guess she's not really making a claim that they would make a move, but they know that he's available. So maybe there's a move on the horizon. She also said that the Patriots are open to moving Tyquan Thornton, their wide receiver. They're also open to moving Kendrick Bourne and Kyle Duggar.
Kyle Duggar?
Yeah.
Now, we'll talk about that for a second.
Safety.
Can he play free safety? Is he a free safety? I know he can do it all.
He's kind of like the utility man on that defense.
He's an awesome player. He's a fantastic safety. The Niners need a free safety. I was suggesting Darnell Savage. They have 3 strong safeties. They don't have any free safeties. Now, I know they're interchangeable, but somebody's got to play the deep middle, whether it be a cover 3, zone, or if it's man-to-man, somebody's got to play the deep part of the field. And Mustafa's better in the box. Jair's better in the box. Hufanga, when he gets healthy, he's better in the box. They're all better closer to the line of scrimmage. Yet Duggar's their free safety. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, if you could get those 3 guys from New England, it's game on. Godchaux's a run defender. Bourne, obviously, Niner fans know. I don't have to tell you anything about Bourne. And then Duggar's a free safety of note. I mean, this guy is really good. He was one of Bill Belichick's very favorite players. So I like the idea of Kyle Duggar. That is an interesting name. I'm going to save that one. Go ahead. What else you got?
Yeah, no, that is a super interesting
What
name.
else did she have?
Just on Godchaux for a second. I was looking him up before the show, kind of trying to get an idea for him. Obviously, we all know he's a defensive tackle. He's 6'3", 330, so he's a wide body guy. He's played 367 snaps. He has 26 tackles, 5 pressures, 4 hurries, no sacks. Only has a 53.7 defensive PFF grade. But the one thing that stands out is that he has 20 defensive run stops, which is the league leading. It's the highest in the NFL. Which means that he's just a run plugger. You know, he just plugs up the holes and makes plays. And that's kind of what the Niners need right now. They need someone. They've been searching for, you know, someone who plays the gaps, someone who fills up the gaps. And they've been looking for that since they got Javon Hargrave, and obviously Javon Hargrave hasn't really panned out.
I take all 3 of those guys. What would it take to get Godchaux, Bourne, and Duggar? A 3rd and a 4th?
I don't know what it would take to get all of them, but it's interesting that they're trying to move on from Tyquan Thornton. Like, I don't really understand. He's kind of a young guy, and
he runs well, Kev, but I don't think he's much of a receiver.
Yeah, but what could they possibly get for him? Like, is anyone really going to send a pick for Tyquan Thornton? Like, I don't know. Maybe they're going to package
only if you fell in love with him at the combine, maybe.
Yeah. So I don't really know what the value is there. She also added this. She said the Indianapolis Colts have told teams that they're not moving on from DeForest Buckner, and Denver isn't moving on from DJ Jones. So this was kind of her like Niners section, I'm guessing, because those 2 names were rumored to be like the Niners had called about DeForest Buckner and DJ Jones, and it seems like both of them aren't available.
There was just a NFL rumors thing yesterday about Buckner to the Niners. You saw that, right?
Yeah, and NFL rumors, I think they're just kind of seeing that
credible.
Well, they're not credible, but they're not like citing their source. They're just seeing that someone had said, "Oh, the Niners called about DeForest Buckner," and then it's like rumor Niners are interested in DeForest Buckner. I think the Niners are interested. Why wouldn't you be interested in DeForest Buckner? DeForest Buckner is probably the best defensive tackle you've had in the last 5 years. But Colts,
he's older and he costs a lot, and you know, I mean, that there are reasons, you know, that you wouldn't be interested. But I'm a little curious as to all this interest in defensive tackles. You have Malik Collins, you have Kalia Davis, Kevin Givens, Evan Anderson, Jordan Elliott. To me, it seems like you got a reservoir of defensive tackles. You don't have squat at defensive end. You got Bosa, you have Leonard Floyd, and then after that, it's slim pickings. I mean, you have Sam O, but Sam O's been playing inside as a defensive tackle in passing downs, and then you have Beal, and that's it. So I don't know. I think to me they need a defensive end. I mean, they're not. They're not Detroit, and there's a lot of talk, by the way, this morning that Detroit, Brad Holmes, who's one of the great GMs in the game, is got, looking at Chase Young, looking at Azeez Ojulari, Zadarius Smith, and Trey Hendrickson as possible acquisitions. Let's pray they get Chase Young, because Young would be
it's funny that you said that. I was gonna make the argument, like, even though Niners fans would absolutely hate to hear it, Chase Young might be the player that they need. I mean, it sounds so crazy because we were both, in the playoffs being like, Chase Young, what a, garbage, the amount of effort, can't call him Chase Young. You got to call him Jog Young or whatever.
You want him back, Mr. I play 45% in the biggest game of the year? Fuck no.
I mean,
I don't want him back.
The Saints would probably give him to you for nothing, and then you would get a compensatory.
He's not worth anything.
He's not playing terrible. That's all I'm saying. He's not playing terrible.
He's not playing hard. And if people in New Orleans are joking about how he's not playing hard already. You've seen that, right?
I mean, I saw the one play against the Chiefs where he didn't look very good, but he also in that game had like multiple pressures and a sack. I mean,
the Niners are not going to reacquire a guy who Cadillac in the NFC title game. I mean, I will bet you anything you want that they will not acquire him. I mean, I think they're going to acquire a defensive end, but it won't be him.
I know, but like in terms of like, if you just look how thin they are at defensive end. It's Nick Bosa, Leonard. Nick Bosa is like an every down defensive end. Leonard Floyd has to rotate in and out, and then you have Sam O and Robert Beal. That's it. That's all you
I know.
got. So
They're
you get one
relatively
injury.
naked.
You're one injury away. All those guys play meaningful snaps on your defense. You're
Yeah.
one injury away from having no one. That's if you lose one defensive end, you have to make a move. Like
Right.
you're forced to make a move. So what's the move? I don't know.
By the way, Invader 49er with the comment of the day. Shanahan built the Niners into champions. Well, not quite, but near champions in 3 years. Larry and Kev built the Krueger Show channel in record time. Look at that. He's putting our build up against John Lynch and Kyle
We are
Shanahan.
basically Shanahan. We are basically Shanahan. Yeah.
All right. Is there any other Rossini nuggets of trade wisdom?
Last few nuggets, not all related to the Niners, but I tried to find the ones that were closest related to the Niners.
Yeah, what's
she
related?
was told that the Cincinnati Bengals are not trading T. Higgins. So if you wanted T. Higgins was on your wish list for Christmas, he's not coming.
I mean, Cincinnati doesn't make trades.
Yeah,
hardly ever.
They really don't. That's actually funny. Yeah, they really
Carson
don't.
Palmer to the Raiders, I think, was the last trade they made. I mean, seriously. Yeah. They don't make trades. It's like an old organization. They're like, but it'll be better value if you made a trade. Screw it. We don't care. Yeah, the Bengals are old school thinking. They're not new school thinking.
Yeah. New York Giants.
So no T. Higgins, no DeForest Buckner, no DJ Jones.
This one's pretty obvious, but the New York Giants are indeed shopping Azeez Ojulari. So that's
the guy to get right there.
Right. That's that's the best
5
guy
sacks in 3 games.
He's the best player in the entire trade. Of all the trade players, all the players that could be traded, he's the best. He's the top
of the edge rushers. But he's a free agent also at the end of the year, so you're not really getting him for very long.
He's a rental, right?
Yeah, he's a rental unless you can sign him.
The New York Jets had received calls about Garrett Wilson and corner DJ Reed, but after Thursday night's win, she does not expect them to move on.
Like the Jets are in anything. Oh, yeah, you're going places. Yeah, you don't want to trade those guys. So DJ Reed, who's phenomenal, the ex-Niner corner, and then who's the other one you said? Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson.
Are not available?
Not available.
Not available. Okay. All right, that takes 2 good players off the board right there.
Yeah.
I liked those guys for sure.
You liked Wilson for sure. You were. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
who doesn't like Wilson? I mean, especially after that catch. You saw that catch on Thursday night, his one-handed.
Yeah, but I mean, my comment was well before that catch, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. Of course. The Los Angeles Rams are trying to move on from cornerback Tre'Davious White.
He can't play anymore.
Yeah, who's just a name at this point. And they are not. She does not expect them to move on from Cooper Kupp.
Rams are not moving Kupp.
Yeah, which I always thought was kind of dubious. Like, wow, Kupp is such a he's.
I wonder about Tutu though.
She had no comment on Tutu. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved him. I guess it's probably more of like, is he worth anything to anyone? Is he worth a pick?
Right.
Because
that's it. That's it.
No, there's 2 more. 2 more. Carolina is open to moving running back Miles Sanders and Jadeveon Clowney. So,
Sanders can't play at all.
Sanders.
At this point, but Clowney makes sense.
Yeah,
Clowney makes sense. Okay,
he would make sense. Buffalo safety Mike Edwards is available.
He's good.
Sure you like Mike Edwards?
Yeah, from playing at Kentucky.
Now this one's the most interesting to me.
That's interesting. Why is he available?
Mike Edwards?
Yeah. It seems like they've had injuries in the secondary. Okay.
The last one is that the Jags are open to moving 5-time Pro Bowler Brandon Scherff.
Brandon Scherff, the guard.
Brandon Scherff.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of slow at this point, but he's tough. I mean, you got Pooney, you got Banks. I don't think they need Scherff. Expensive guard.
I just think that's interesting because usually guards don't usually get moved mid-season. I don't know. You don't really see offensive line trades. Yeah. So
they're hard to find.
Interesting. But Jags are kind of a shit show right now, so yes, that makes sense.
So basically, the long and the short of this is that Davon, Godchaux, Kendrick Bourne, Kyle Duggar are definitely available from the Pats. Azeez Ojulari is available from the New York Giants. Maybe Darius Slayton. We'll see. She didn't mention that. Jadeveon Clowney from Carolina is available. So those would be the guys that would interest the Niners. Cooper Kupp, no. DJ Jones, no. DJ Reed, no. Garrett Wilson, no. T. Higgins, no. So there you go. Interesting. Very interesting. The most interesting name there, Kyle Duggar. By far, Kyle Duggar. Because the Niners could really use that one alpha safety, free safety, do-it-all guy. Lynch knows safeties, that's for sure. They got some good ones here. I wonder what it would take to get Duggar. That's interesting. And then I wonder which strong safety, if Hufanga came back, who would sit the bench? Mustafa? Jair?
Probably.
Wow. That's amazing. All right.
Well,
you want to take some calls right here? Or what do you want to do?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's take some calls.
We go to Stephen Beer. I tried to get him in there, but I couldn't get him in there.
I'm right here.
There he is.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up?
Oh, not much.
Where are you calling from, first of all?
Well, I'm in Portland, Oregon right now.
Nice.
I live across the state line in Vancouver. So
been there? Been to Vancouver, not to be confused with Vancouver, British Columbia.
Correct.
This is a different Vancouver, but it's very nice. It's across a bridge or something from Portland.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Small little bridge, just right over, just a few miles up, and that's me.
There you go. My buddy's a police officer up there.
Nice.
Yep. He's up in I think near Beaverton. How far are you from Beaverton?
That's about 25 minutes. I mean, depending on traffic, it could be a lot more, but yeah, typically it's just like a 25-minute drive from where I live.
Yep, my buddy Jimmy is a cop there. He was working the night shift, and he got a desk job. And then I called him. I said, "Hey, why? How come you're not working the desk job?" He's like, "Oh, the night is where the action's at." I'm like, "Oh, great." So that's the kind of guy my friend was, but he likes the action. I would be like terrified. But what's going on? What's on your mind, Steve?
Oh, not much. Well, I had a few things which I was thinking of, some out of the box kind of stuff, but I really feel like the Niners, the organization, kind of screwed up prior to the draft of this last year because they knew Greenlaw was out and he was going to be out for a while. So it's like at that point, you have a drastic need at linebacker. And whether if it was they were thinking, hey, Graham and Winters might be ready, or maybe I don't know what made them think Devondre Campbell was going to be any use, but they're not the answers this year. So I think they really need linebacker. And my question to you would be, what's the likelihood of the Niners making a trade to the Texans for Azeez Al-Shaair and maybe potentially trading Debo to offload the contract since Stephon Diggs is out for the year with the ACL?
Ooh, that's interesting. That is interesting. I would say first blush that there's no way that D'Amico would trade Azeez. Azeez was in Tennessee, wasn't he?
No,
he's with the Texans.
He left. He was in Tennessee last year, and then went to the Texans.
Correct. But he's with the Texans, and it's like it would be a scheme fit.
He didn't play the other night.
Huge upgrade. It'd be a huge upgrade.
I just don't think. I don't think D'Amico's going to move Azeez.
Well, yeah.
You think he knows how great he is?
But you also, I
like it though.
They need a big need at wide receiver now with Diggs down. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I was John Lynch, that's a call you make.
Well, I mean, some would argue though. I mean, just to be devil's advocate on you, if you trade Debo and you got Juwan's got the hip and you've got two rookies and no Ayuk, aren't you kind of naked at wide receiver? I mean, I'd be open to that. If I had another plan to add another wide receiver, I guess.
Well,
because I think you're going to need all hands on deck at wide receiver. I have a feeling.
Yeah. So And then I guess like you're saying with wide receiver, I mean, do you go for a, or do you try to find some stature? Do you want, I mean, Tutu Atwell, I mean, that might be a possibility. You do know that they're shipping Bourne out. I mean, he's been in our scheme. He's not Debo by any means, but
no,
the system, he would be great blocker. He'd be dependable on third down. Now, hopefully Jawan's back, but you'd be relying on some rookies for sure, but it would be a possibility.
I mean, there's some interesting receivers.
To be honest, Kendrick Bourne would make the most sense. Like if you hear the way the Niners are talking about this, like, oh, we can't just add someone, like in the middle of the season, it has to make sense. Like even though Kendrick Bourne was not an exciting name, and I did not like hearing his name floated out when Brandon Ayuk's name was on the trade block, but Kendrick Bourne for a late round pick as a guy who knows the system. I mean, with the thinness that they have at the wide receiver position, you can't really be mad.
Let me give you another name. That nobody's really thrown out there, but I think it starts to make sense when you think about, maybe pairing him with Clowney. Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo's a young receiver from Ole Miss who he's got a lot of talent, and he was really good at Ole Miss. And if you could get a guy like Mingo with Clowney, that might not be bad. I mean, because the Niners, the one thing the Niners don't need if they add a receiver is they don't need a receiver who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. They need a receiver who's going to play next year because they're not going to have Ayuk next year. Next year he's going to be out, and they may not have Debo. He might not be on the team. So then you're really naked at receiver next year. So to me, some of the more attractive names would be the younger guys that are supposedly available. Jalen Hyatt from the New York Giants, Mingo from Carolina, maybe Elijah Moore from Cleveland, although he's not all that young. But I would go for more of a younger receiver. Also, you got to remember this: there's a lot of egos, and so if you bring in a receiver and you don't move off of any of your other receivers, then it's like, okay, well, wait a second, what about me? What about me? What about my run? What about my routes? If you go for a young guy like Mingo, he's not going to cause any waves. He's just going to come in and play as hard as he can. But if you go after, Thielen or Cortland Sutton or somebody like that, you're going to have Darius Slayton. They may come in and say, hey, look, I want X number of balls. And it's like, well, get in where you fit in. You got McCaffrey, you got Kittle, you got, what I mean? Suddenly there's a lot of mouths at the trough. So I don't know. Tough call there on the receiver, but I think a younger receiver makes sense.
To go back to the Debo thing, I remember hearing this, so I just had to double check. But the Niners, after they extended Debo, they can't really trade him because once they trade him, his dead cap is like $30 million. His dead cap.
I wasn't thinking trade Debo. Yeah, I mean, what about cutting him?
Cutting him pre June 1st. If you cut him pre June 1st, you would still have a $30 million dead cap on the 2024 season.
So you think the Niner plan is to go forward with Ayuk and Debo into next year?
If you trade him after post June 1st, it's not as bad. But if you trade him before June 1st, I think this season basically, it's a huge hit because you extended him and all of his salary is prorated. So once
it all accelerates.
It all accelerates once you get rid of him.
Yeah, so they're in a pickle, right? Not that Ayuk injury was crushing, because they paid him a ton, and there's nothing they can do with him, and now it's just negative cap, and he's not giving them anything. So they're going to need young, cheap, players. So that's probably why they're not in a rush to move draft picks. And that also is probably why if they go for a trade, they're probably going to go for somebody that's not a free agent to be. That would be my guess. But they really could. To me, they really need help on that defensive end spot. I mean, if they can get some help at defensive end, I think that helps their young DBs. But the Kyle Duggar one is super intriguing to me because, man, if you could get a guy like that, now you've got the quarterback of your secondary. I think in a lot of ways, Kyle Duggar could be the final piece for the 49ers to have the best secondary in the game. I mean, I love what I see out of Renardo Green. I think Renardo Green's got more talent than Demo Lenore. So you got Lenore and Green and Mooney, and you've got cornerback depth behind that. Luter's getting better. Some of the veterans they have there, depth pieces like Yadam and Yasin. But then they also have pretty good depth at in the secondary with some guys who can really play. And if you add a guy like Duggar who can cover the deep middle and be that free safety, wow, then now you're talking. Now you can go 3 safety alignments. You could do all kinds of different things. He's a super heady player. He's a coverage player. He's a thumper. That would be intriguing as hell. I mean, I'll say this too. I'm not eager to trade for Kendrick Bourne or Davon Godchaux, but if you're insisting on a 3rd round draft choice, I don't want to trade a 3rd round draft choice unless I'm getting somebody big time like Duggar. Because I mean, look at the Chiefs just got D-Hop for a 5th, and the Ravens just got Deontay Johnson for a late day 3 pick swap. That's going to be the equivalent of moving back like 7 spots in the draft. So,
and you get a compensatory and you get a compensatory pick when he leaves.
Yeah,
the Ravens.
That was an incredible deal for Eric.
That's
Acosta,
what I'm saying about
Ravens.
The trade deadline isn't about, even though it kind of is about identifying certain players you want. It's more about testing the market and figuring out which teams are going to give up what and for how much. Because Chase Young may not have been the Niners' first choice, but they did get Chase Young for, what was it, like a 5th round pick that turned into a compensatory. What was the trade details? Anyways, like if you're not giving up that much, you might as well pull the trigger. And I thought Deontay Johnson was a good receiver, and the Ravens got him for practically nothing. I mean, a pick swap and potentially a compensatory pick. I mean,
yeah,
we're talking about
the compensatory pick is coming to the Ravens,
right? So that's what I'm saying. Right. So it's like they're getting a nothing. Player and a 7th round pick for a 5th, 6th pick swap.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have come up on top in that trade. I mean, if depending on who that 7th round pick is, I mean, shit.
Oh, I know. No, that's a great trade. I mean, that's a phenomenal deal. It makes you wonder why the Niners couldn't close that deal, but who knows? But you know what? I mean, the 49ers definitely need something. I'll say this. I don't believe Amoni says any good trade rumors for the Niners. Are you seeing any other trade rumors out there for the Niners? Not necessarily Dino Rossini, but I don't think the Niners can go to the Super Bowl this year without an addition. I just don't. I don't think they can get through because they're going to have to play some of these playoff games on the road. They're not rolling through the NFC playoffs without some help. And Trent Williams was asked the other day about trades and the impact on the locker room, and he's like, it definitely gives the guys in the room a little extra juice, a little extra enthusiasm. When you add to the mix, it definitely gives, a little shot in the arm, so it's not nothing, is there an adjustment period? Does the chemistry change? Is there some risk? Yeah, but it also gives your team a shot in the arm, new help, a new guy walks into the room, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, how much can he help us? It's a statement that the organization is thinking big thoughts about the playoffs. I don't know. To me, Lynch has almost popularized the trade deadline trade. So I do expect him to be active, but I think they need to be active.
And the one thing you can say about every single deadline trade for the Niners is that you never look back and said, "Oh, they gave up what for that player?" It's always been some nominal pick that never really mattered, and they got a player. So it's like if you can make a trade like that every trade deadline and you're a contending team, you should do it. You should just do it.
There's only so many ways to build a team too. So people in here ripping Mingo. Yeah, Mingo's young. He's a young player, but he's got good size, good athleticism, and I think would make him impact right away. And also you can develop him over time. I think that's the attraction of Mingo. Steven, what do you think? Do they need a move to go to the Super Bowl this year?
I do. I think that they need a defensive end. I think that we were talking about Aziz there, and I think that's the perfect fit. I mean, I don't know what you'd have to give up for him, but I think that's what you need. And it would definitely help with just because right now we are having issues with some coverage with these younger guys. And if you could get Duggar, that would be amazing. I think either one of those two, or if you could get both somehow, that's the way to go. So,
yep. Steven, have a great Saturday, man. You're a regular on the show, or did you just stumble into us today?
Oh no, I'm pretty regular. It just depends on when I get to tune in. I'm pretty busy. I'm usually up at 2:30 in the morning and sleep by 10 at night. I'm always on the go too. So, but you guys have a good one. I actually got to get out of here. They finished loading my truck like 5 minutes ago. So.
Oh, gotcha. All right, man. Well, hey, have a great Saturday. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
There you go, Steven, hanging out. Steven Byer. That's good. It opens up a spot here at on our call thing, and I put the call link in the chat again, so people can take a look at
pinned
that.
in the chat, so anyone who wants to join can. Should we hit the
Fuji Simeon 13 says SI versus SH, Reardon versus Sarah today. I need the Irish to defang, declaw, spay, or neuter the Wildcats. Otherwise, SI is in a better standing in the WCAL. Go Cats, get them Cats. Go get them Cats.
I did not understand a single word of that. What's that?
SI versus SH?
What is
St.
the
Ignatius versus Sacred Heart. SI is the better school there and the better team. Reardon versus Sarah. Probably Sarah is probably the better team there. And this guy's like this. Fuji Simeon's an Irish fan. Now he's donates so much money to our channel through the chats. I don't want to be too hard on him, even though he's an SH guy. But what can I say? I'm a Wildcat. Go Cats, get them Cats. Go get them Cats. Hey, you, there's nothing you can do. I said you just can't stop that cat machine. Yes. We are SI. Fuji Simeon, another one. He says, Larry and Kev, should the trade deadline be moved to later, week 10 or 12? So the season has gone by and more teams maybe in sell mode rather than buy mode.
No.
Not sure if the owners of the Players Association would agree. They did move it back 1 week. It was last year, it was after week 8. Now it's after week 9.
Why would you want more? I mean, selfishly as a Niners fan, I could see it, but why would the NFL want more teams to be selling at the deadline? Why would they want to give up?
Well, because if you're first of all, somebody selling means somebody buying. So what difference does it make? I mean, it's a trade.
No, but I mean, you wouldn't want if there was a fantasy team. That's not a good comparison. Why would you want a team that's good to start being like, oh, we're just gonna start trading with these bad teams that are just gonna give us all? I feel like it ruins the competitiveness if you're just making the better teams better because bad teams are getting rid of players. You should try to remain competitive throughout the entire season. That should be the goal of the NFL, right?
I kind of disagree just from the standpoint that look at what trade rumors do for the dialogue around the NBA, around MLB. I think it creates interest. I think it creates all kinds of dialogue, all kinds of rumors, all kinds of clicks. In a world where we're about clicks and traction, I think you gain a ton of traction. No, you don't think so? I mean, I know what you're saying about the competitive balance of the thing, but I don't know. I mean, heck, you've got idiot Colin Cowherd saying it would be good for baseball if the Dodgers got Juan Soto. So obviously he doesn't give a shit about competitive balance at all. So if it's not about competitive balance, if it's just about building great teams, if that's really the key, then wouldn't you want the Niners, the Ravens, the Chiefs to get the crappy players on the Panther or the good players that are on the crappy teams like the Panthers and the Raiders and some of these teams? Wouldn't you want all those premier play? Isn't it better for the league if Devontae Adams is on the Jets than on the Raiders if the Jets are good or on a good team? Don't you think it's better that Christian McCaffrey is a Niner and not a Carolina Panther wasting away on some losing team? No,
having a trade deadline is fine. I just think that the farther you move it back, the more you're allowing it to become like a sell point for teams. Think about the Jets. If you're a Jets fan, you just heard Diana Rossini say, "We won on Thursday Night Football against the Texans. We're not selling. We're winners." If the deadline was 2 weeks later and the Jets are now 3-7, I don't know what the record would be, and now you're selling Garrett Wilson to the Chiefs. I mean, as a Jets fan, you just have to tune out for the rest of the season. I think remaining competitive as long as you possibly can is best for the fans. Maybe the casual wants to see Mahomes with, all-star superstars, but it's like, and also I wouldn't use the NBA as the best comparison. The NBA is going down in viewership right now. The NBA is not some that's the league to be now.
No, I know, but wouldn't you say that the trade deadline gets a lot of attention in these other sports?
I think it's good the way it is right now. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand what you're saying, but super teams are good. Having lots of great players all in the playoffs is good. Only thing I would say is that there's something about it's not really like a fair trade. Have you noticed that? I mean, D-Hop is only worth a fifth. It's like the picks are valued at such a higher level than the players. Don't you find that interesting? The picks are just opportunities, and they're oftentimes failed opportunities. Players are players. D-Hop can play. Players can play, and it's like when you're trading a known commodity and all you're getting is a fifth-round pick. That's I don't know. I mean, the Niners
why that happens right now.
Alexander for a fifth-round pick a couple years ago and got Demo Lenore out of it. So it's not like a fifth-round pick doesn't result in a good player. A lot of times it does, but it's an awful low price for it's more of a risk on the team.
I'll tell you why it happens. This is why it happens. It's 1,000% because of the money. It's 1,000% because of the money. Because when the player's on a rookie contract, they are exponentially more cheap than a player that's on their second contract or their third contract. You can pay rookies pennies, and every time you trade a player that makes money for a pick, you're basically resetting that clock of I can get a player and it's only going to cost me X. It's only going to cost me this much. So a lot of times you're just making your team cheaper and it's setting up yourself for the future.
Yeah, no, I know. I think you're right. Matt Sanders says totally agree that a splash trade sends a message. Oh, absolutely. And it gives everybody a lift. It's like, all right. Fuji Simeon says, Larry, I'm a Reardon guy. LOL. Crusaders. Purple and gold.
Where is Reardon? Is that
it's right backs up to Damon's house. It's on Ocean Ave, next to City College.
I know where that is.
It's where Ocean Avenue hits right at the top of Ocean Avenue. Like I lived out in the avenue. So if you ride Ocean Avenue all the way out to Sunset Boulevard, hang a right, drive like 10 blocks, then that was where I grew up on Rivera and 35th. But I'm an SI guy. I lived across the street from SI. My dad went to SI. My brother went to SI. I went to SI. My niece may wind up going to SI. But Reardon is a good school. And I know people who work there. Fuji Simeon says West Catholic Athletic League, SI, SH, Reardon, Sarah, Bellarmine, St. Francis, Mitty, Valley Christian are the schools. Kuminga's brother is at Reardon. By the way, that made me so pissed when I saw that. The Warriors are going to trade 21-year-old Jonathan Kuminga for 35-year-old Jimmy Butler. If they do that, they deserve to go down. I mean, that's just ridiculous. If you're going to trade, I don't like trading Kuminga. He's 21. But if you're going to trade Kuminga, get Giannis. There's yesterday for the very first time. I thought the irony is amazing. Yesterday, for the first time, there was the first crack of Giannis potentially wanting to leave the Bucks. And the Warriors have arguably one of the greatest trade pieces available right now in the entire league in Jonathan Kuminga. As far as young, talented, upside, huge ability, all kind. He could wind up being Kawhi Leonard. He's such an amazing talent. And then suddenly right when Giannis becomes available, they're going to trade their most talented trade piece for Jimmy Butler, who's 35. I mean, that would be, if they do that, I mean, they deserve it.
I mean, I just don't know if Giannis is on the table in a Kuminga trade. Kuminga's not that valuable.
Well, I think it would take Kuminga. If you want Giannis, it's going to take Kuminga, Moody, Trace Jackson Davis, and a ton of picks. And you're going to have to throw Wiggins in as well because Wiggins makes money.
I mean, that's
you know.
leveraging the future for sure. That's
But I mean,
that's a sellout.
that's not leveraging the future as much as trading Kuminga for 34-year-old Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler could be out of the league in 3 years. Giannis is
Right.
going to be played for the next 7 years, 8 years. Giannis
Right.
is
I
what,
mean,
30?
it obviously depends on how much the Warriors, I almost said Niners, how much the Warriors value Kuminga and what they see in him. Because if no one knows better than the Warriors how good Kuminga could be, so
Yeah.
I do have. Is that all of our super chats, or do we have more? That was the last one.
I think
Yeah,
that
I
is
think
our
so.
super chats.
I do have. I was looking into the stats yesterday. I want to bring this up. This is a point that I want to make. There's been a lot of discussion about the Niners. Obviously, there's the doom and gloom. This isn't their year, and I can understand it. Like I can understand the people saying, "Look, they're 4-4. They haven't won. They've choked games. This isn't the same team. They're barely going to make the playoffs if they make the playoffs. The Super Bowl is out the window." And I understand it, but if we look into more of the advanced numbers, this is what I came away with.
Look at Sean Wilford. We're not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. 49ers just traded for Trey Lance. Come on, Sean. Go ahead. Okay, sorry.
Looking at just EPA per play, just expected points added per play, the Niners are 5th in offensive EPA per play and 13th in defensive EPA per play. So an EPA is a great way to measure how good a team is doing in that respective category. So they're fifth in offense, 13th in defense. The teams that are 13th or better in both offensive and defensive EPA. These are the teams.
Wait. Here, let me write this down. This is teams.
Yeah. Teams that are 13th or better in both offensive and defensive EPA.
13th or better in both offensive and defensive EPA. And EPA is
expected points added. So basically it looks at how many, like what was the result of the play? Could they calculate that you would score more points from it or less points from it? So offenses that are good have a positive EPA per play or a higher positive EPA per play, meaning that each play they're closer to scoring points. And defenses have a lower EPA per play because they stop points from being scored. And just looking at the list, like if you just look at these lists, it's like here are the top 8 offenses in EPA per play, and tell me if this passes the eye check or the ear check. Like, tell me if this makes sense to you. Washington Commanders are first, good offense. Baltimore Ravens are second.
Washington is 1. Okay, so wait, they're 1 in what? Offensive or defensive?
Offensive EPA per play.
Okay.
Baltimore Ravens are second.
Okay.
Buffalo Bills are third. Lions are fourth. The Niners are 5th in offensive EPA per play. The Tampa Bay Bucks are 6th. The Eagles are 7th. The Chiefs are 8th.
Okay.
So that's pretty solid. Like that kind of makes sense. And here are the top 8 in defensive EPA per play. And tell me if this makes sense. Denver Broncos are first. They have a very solid defense. Detroit Lions are second. Minnesota Vikings are third. Bears are 4th. Chargers are 5th. Packers are 6th. Steelers are 7th. Bills are 8th.
Wait. Who's 6?
Packers.
Okay.
7th. Steelers. 8th. Bills. So I mean, just
where are the Niners?
The Niners are 13th. So back to what I was saying, teams that are both 13th or better in both offensive and defensive EPA. You have the Bills, 6-2. The Lions, who are 6-1. The Chiefs, who are 7-0. The Packers, who are 6-2. The Steelers, who are 6-2. And then you have the Niners, who are 4-4. So of the teams that are that good in offense and defense, the Niners are the only team that has more than 2 losses, and they have 4 losses. So
wait, Buffalo's what again?
Say what?
What are those records again? Buffalo's what?
Buffalo 6-2. The Lions are 6-1. The Chiefs are 7-0. The Packers are 6-2, and the Steelers are 6-2. The Niners are the only team that has more than 2 losses. And I think, I mean, you could also just point to the fact that they had 2 terrible end of the game losses against the Cardinals and the Rams, where they probably had a 90% chance of winning, and then they somehow choked the game. And that right there would make them 6-2. So the Niners have had, a rough first half of the season, but just looking at how their team's actually playing on a per play basis, they're definitely still one of the best teams in the league. That's my opinion. I think that they have some positive regression coming their way, and that their record may not be reflective of their true status.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely think the 49ers are one of the better teams in football. Whether their record shows it or not, I believe they're one of the better teams in football. They've got a lot of star players. They've had a lot of success. I just think that when you play deep into the playoffs every year, that, it's harder to get up for the next year. It's harder to get it rolling the next year. To me, the stat that jumps out to me at the bye week is that the Niners were first in red zone touchdown percentage last year, and they're 27th this year. That to me that's got to change, right? That they've got it. I don't know if it's McCaffrey. I don't know if they got to get a power runner who can power it in from the 5. I don't know if it's, play calling, but they have to be better in the red zone. They're not going to win if they can't be better than 27th. You have to be able to score in the red zone. The other thing I was going to say is that what my favorite stat is for Super Bowl contenders are takeaways. Defenses that take the ball away typically win in the playoffs. Who's leading the NFL in takeaways? Green Bay. They have 19 takeaways. So, to me, that's how you win. You got to take it away.
Also, the Niners are 23rd in opponent red zone scoring percentage. So not only are they sucking at scoring in the red zone, their defense is also bad at allowing teams to score in the red zone. So they have a little bit of a double edge. 23rd in opponent red zone scoring percentage.
Wow.
Is
that touchdown percentage mean?
Yeah. So percentage of the time that the team gets in the red zone, they score a touchdown. It's 61.54%, which is 23rd.
Yeah. So the red zone overall is that's a major key.
Yeah. They also, I thought this was interesting. They also have 110 plays inside the red zone. It's by far the most in the NFL. The Commanders, I think, had 100 plays in the red zone, and then like every other team had 80 or fewer. So they have a ton of plays inside the red zone, but they're obviously not scoring.
What do you make of this one? The 49ers under Shanahan before the bye week, and the bye week rotates. So sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later. But before the bye week under Shanahan, they're 25-37. So they've won 40.3% of their games. After the bye week, they're 43-18 with a 705 win percentage. How do you explain that?
Adjusting. I mean, getting healthy and adjusting. You saw the Niners adjust at halftime against the Cowboys and just look like a completely different team. They went from, being a stagnant offense to scoring 21 unanswered in like 3 minutes or like 5 minutes, whatever it was. Kyle Shanahan is, we don't call him, a genius for nothing. He's not a fake genius. I think he probably does make legitimate adjustments. He's probably looking at his team, looking at other teams, and is able to adjust. And the week to week in the NFL is tough. They only spend Monday and Tuesday looking at the film, right? The coaches, they break down the film the next day with the team. They don't spend that much time reflecting on their loss. They start moving to the next game. The bye week allows them to really, I think, make refinements in their team. So that's what I would chalk it up to. That and just getting healthy.
One interesting thing when you look at the Niners DVOA, 7th on offense, 6th on defense, 29th on special teams. Okay. But when you look at their defensive DVOA splits, run pass, they're 2nd against the pass. They're 19th against the run. That is revealing. Maybe they do need Davon Godchaux. Maybe they need another defensive tackle. Maybe they need another linebacker. Is that all Greenlaw right there? You can't stop the run without Greenlaw.
Yeah, and I think Fred Warner's doing as much as he can, but Fred Warner's kind of
He's the highest graded defender in PFF.
Right, and
the entire league.
He's like second in run stops. Like he has the second most run stops in the NFL, second to Godchaux, whatever. Yeah, it's Fred Warner's he's kind of doing it himself. I mean, Campbell, I thought, had a better game against the Cowboys. He actually made some run stops. He made some good tackles. But the Niners, that was probably the Niners' best game against the run. So maybe it's moving in the positive direction. That's the most I could hope for. I'm not sure if you've read this stat before, but I looked into it last night. The Niners' defensive points per quarter, or not points per quarter, points in the fourth quarter. They're 30th right now in the NFL.
Right.
In
they were
points
first
per quarter.
last year.
Last year they were first. In 2022 they were third. In 2021 they were 14th. In 2019 they were 19th. So yeah, it's for the last 2 seasons at least they've been top 3. In 2022 they were third. In 2023 they were first. Now they're 30th, allowing 8.9 points per fourth quarter. So there's another one for you.
Well, I mean, what do you make of that? Is that the difference between Wilkes and Sorensen? Is it unfair to point that at Sorensen? It's funny.
No, I don't think
defense
it's
has done
Sorensen.
some good things. I mean, their defense has got 1 or more interceptions in 5 straight games. They're taking the ball away. They seem to be improving. I don't know.
I think their defense just it gets tired. I think you're playing with some older players. I don't know. I think towards the end of the games we just see them wither a little bit. Like they do play really well in the first half of games. Almost every single game they've played really well in the first half, and then we've seen a second half kind of crumble. Even in that Cowboys game, it seemed like garbage time, but things started falling apart at the end. And they've fallen apart in almost every game towards the end. So that's definitely an issue. You got to figure out how to finish games. They got to
run the ball a little bit better too. I mean, they're not running the ball as well as they've had 2 games of 200 plus run yards, but they need to run the ball a little bit better. They absolutely do. Let's take one more call before we jet because I'm on the radio top of the hour, but Ryan Crowley is with us from Vegas. What's up, Ryan? How you doing, man?
What's up, fellas? How's it going?
You delivering right now?
No, I'm heading to the gym, and then I gotta go make pizzas all day. So
there you go. What's on your mind today?
Oh man, I wanted to say well, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the hard work you guys do and all the information you guys put out there. It's been great for us because streaming platforms suck. So, well, actually, 49 are people that cover. They just don't do as good of a job as you guys do, and how you touch a lot of the topics that I think a lot of the fans want to be talked about, especially when you get into I like your idea with trading for a number 1 wide receiver from the Jets, because I really think we're not going to have Ayuk back next year, and I do think we need another pass rusher, and I think it's overstated that I don't think Dre Greenlaw is going to come right back and be Dre Greenlaw. Even if he comes back till December, I don't think he's going to be ready unless we make the Super Bowl. I mean, look at Sherman after he tore his Achilles. Look at Aaron Rodgers after the first couple of weeks. It's not the same, and especially with no off-season programs, no training, no nothing. You can't expect him to come back in and be much better than what's his number 59? I can't
Campbell.
stand that now. Campbell, yeah. I mean, I just think it's going to take him 6, 7, 8 weeks from when he gets back. When, in December?
I've been saying that as well. If it was me, I mean, as important as Greenlaw is, I'd shut him down and make him a next year guy.
Yeah, and going to get what's his face from? Not that I think we can get him now, just because of the game that he just had on the Jets. But we're not gonna have. We're gonna have no. You're expecting to give Brock Purdy $50 million a year. Right, you don't have a sound, I think, defensive and special teams coordinator. I don't know how good Nick Sorensen is. I don't feel like he's going to be there for 4 or 5 years to come to help the defensive side of the ball. And then Brock Purdy is going to get paid? Let's say he gets paid $60 million. He comes in the next year. Who are his weapons? Who can separate? So we're going to go through a whole year of destroying Brock Purdy because he's got nobody to throw to. And Christian McCaffrey may or may not be back. And you don't know if Ricky Pearsall is really going to round into a number one receiver that can separate. So we're going to have Ayuk, who's going to be hobbling until half the season, and even then it's going to take him 6 to 8 weeks to get back. Debo can't separate. I never wanted to sign him from the get-go. I really don't like the offense focused around Debo. I think he's a great complement, like a $12 to $15 million a year receiver. He's not a $27 million receiver. But
I hear you. I mean, I brought this up that they need. That's why I mentioned if they're going to go for a receiver, go for Mingo. Go for. I mean, Garrett Wilson is obviously way better than Mingo, but they need a young receiver. They need to get a receiver that can not only help them this year but can help them next year.
Yeah.
So, I don't know who that is. I would love it. If you can't get a great receiver like a Garrett Wilson, how about a super fast receiver like a Tutu Atwell? Just somebody who creates space with their presence, because you got a bunch of good underneath guys, but there's not a lot of room there, and it's because you don't have that vertical threat that anybody worries about.
And I love your idea of Tyreek Hill. It doesn't matter if Purdy doesn't have weapons, which he's clearly like Tom Brady in his younger years. I'm not saying the GOAT status, but you got to walk him through. You got to let him get comfortable. You got to give him help. You got to give him a defense. And then, year 7, 8, 9, 10, when he gets Randy Moss and he understands the system, now Tom Brady is unleashed. Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady until he got Randy Moss and until he had years in the system. That's how Brock needs to be groomed. And we're expected to pay him $50, $60 million a year and give him no help.
They have to support him. Rye, we're going to jump because your audio is a little funky today, but we appreciate you. We're also running towards the end of the show, but we appreciate you in Vegas. Let me take one last one before we jet. Steve-O's hanging in backstage. What's up, Steve-O? We're not getting your audio. I think you muted. You got to unmute.
Yeah, that might help.
There you
go.
What's up, Steve-O? Steve-O, where are you calling from, man?
I'm in Nevada. I'm still in preseason mode, I guess.
Well, Steve-O, we're right at the end of the segment, right at the end of the show, because I'm on the radio in 13 minutes. But go ahead, give us your quick point.
Well, my thing was, I've been watching you for a long time, man. I remember when you were on, you were trying to get 9K subs. And I actually made a couple of extra accounts to get you to that, so I could go to sleep. But and then East Coast Red and Gold, Jess and all those gals.
Yeah.
And I've won a T-shirt from them. I've won preseason tickets from them and a Pearsall jersey. But you're giving away tickets for BetUS that I can't join because I'm in Nevada and the casinos own everything. So I'm like, you guys need to step it up. Like, let me get in a contest that I could actually join.
Can you not join better?
I can't do anything online because the casinos own everything. So that's my whole and everything is BetUS, and some of your counterparts have talked about how much they actually get off of it, and it's kind of crazy. But I like to be as a loyal listener, I like to be like, hey, let me get in on a contest because these guys have 400 subs. You just hit 50K, congrats, But it was like, let me get in on a contest that I can join, But the only thing. Go ahead.
If you have a buddy that lives out of state, he can enter for you. We're giving away a signed Fred Warner jersey.
Yeah,
I'm a law-abiding citizen.
So, Steve, we've seen you in the chat many times. Sometimes your comments seem friendly. Sometimes they seem kind of aggressive. But I
And the reason why I changed my picture from my dog to the hazard symbol now is because certain people's comments, let me give me an example. Anthony Davis, all right, somebody had beef with him. Mike Pugliese had to go to counseling because of somebody. So if you're associated with somebody, I'm starting to come more hard at them. They're like, dude, I offered you tickets to go to this game with me. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so this year alone, there's 3 people that have had beef with a certain content creator, if you will, that,
Steve-O, we don't got time for beef right now because we're right at the end of the show. You got a Niner comment before we get out of here?
No, nothing big. I just want to say, like, if you associate with this dude and you're creating shit in the locker room, That's my whole thing is maybe why you see me act a little different lately, and I changed my logo. You know,
All good.
It's all good.
Appreciate your comments though. Appreciate
Yeah.
you in the chat. Thanks, man.
Steve-O
You gotta run
had
through
a lot going on.
on.
Matt Saunders says multiple teams have won Super Bowls going 9-7 in the regular season. Niners are in contention until they have 8 losses. Just need a ticket to the dance. Things get weird. All right. We got this one from James Foster. The red zone struggles on offense and defense screams non-Super Bowl contender, Kev. Non-Super Bowl contender, according to James Foster.
We'll see.
We'll see. It's early. Jedi says thanks. That's all. Look at that. 1999 just to say thanks. That's worth a clap right there. Look at that. It's Jedi in the house.
Don't forget,
Kev,
by the merch.
Kev's got one of the brand new merch sweatshirts, and it has a cool patch. It's not a rubberized patch. It's like a sewn on patch. It's very, very cool. That is a very cool. What size is that?
This is a large.
It's a large.
This is a large.
What size do they come in?
You always go size up in a sweatshirt, I'd say. Always go size up. You don't want a tight sweatshirt. No one likes a tight sweatshirt.
No. All right, that's going to do it for us. Quick show today, but I'm on the radio in 9 minutes on KMBR. Catch me on KMBR 680 on the AM dial, 104.5 on the FM dial. Ira Kaufman's going to stop by next hour on the radio, and we're going to preview Niners Bucks. We're also going to talk a little bit about Roger Craig and some of the thoughts that Kev just shared right there. I'm going to also share with the audience coming up in about 8 minutes. So join me over there on the radio. That's going to do it for us here. And Steven Byer says, got to get out of here. Have a good one, gents. Thank you in the private chat. Thank you, Steven. Thanks to everybody who participated. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Join us at Pig and a Pickle on Sunday from noon to 6. We'll be there. Should be a lot of fun. Until then, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.